Today's date is July 31st, 1993. Okay.
Right.
Okay, well, first of all, I guess I wanted to get your names and how it's spelled.
Okay, my name is Leilani, Leilani. Last name is Cotton, Cotten.
And I'm Henry Cotton, C-T-T-E-N.
Okay, and I guess you both agreed to participate in this project to allow the museum to use it in their interest.
Yeah, we are survivors of the firestorm.
Yes, we agree.
Okay. Well, I'd like to start off with some personal information about your age and occupation and where you're originally from.
Okay, my age is 55, and I was born in San Francisco and raised in Berkeley, and presently living in Emeryville. This is where we're hiding out until our home gets built. My occupation is a co-owner of a New Day preschool. We have 2 centers in Oakland.
Okay, I was born in Louisiana. I came to Oakland in 1949. I'm 56 years old. I'm an agent for Allstate Insurance Company.
Oh, how convenient. Okay, and how long have you been married?
She doesn't know, so I'll tell you.
37 years.
No, it's
It'll be
36.
37. Well, it'll be 37 this year.
And do you have any children, or what are
2
their
sons.
ages?
They're 33 and 34. In fact, the one that's 34 will be 35 this month.
Okay. So, where were you living at the time of the fire? Where was your house?
It was on Tunnel Road, right above the Parkwood Apartments.
Right where it started. It started behind where we live.
It started on Buckingham, which is like
just around the corner.
right.
In terms of distance, how much would you estimate?
Well, just to looking out the window, and
About
there it is,
1,000
right,
feet.
you know, just a few yards away.
Wow. And how long had you been living there?
Oh, it's 13.
13 years.
Yeah.
We were living there since the house was brand new.
And you had bought the house?
We bought the house.
Do you mind me asking how much you had paid for the house, or
No,
how much it
no.
was worth?
We had paid $132,000 in 1978. We weren't sure, but the comparables before the fire were around $400,000.
Could you describe the house? Like how large it was, what type of house it was?
It was like a custom made. It had custom features in the house. We had 3 bedrooms, a dining room, kitchen, and a living room. No rumpus room. And 2 bathrooms.
3 bathrooms.
3 bathrooms, yeah.
Let's see.
Bathrooms.
The house had a lot of skylights, had a lot of large windows, and had a cathedral ceiling. The living room ceiling was about 27 feet high, and there was a 2-car garage. It was approximately 2,800 square feet.
Did you have a view, and what was?
We had a view of the hill, of the trees and the hills,
Okay.
which was 15 minutes from downtown, and it was like you were in the wilderness. It's a nice view. Had nice decks off the kitchen, so you could sit out on a nice day like today and have breakfast or have lunch and stuff. It was a really nice house.
Wow. So, was this wasn't your first house, was it?
No.
No. Where had you lived previously? Or
In East Oakland on Granada Avenue. And then
Mhm.
prior to that in North Oakland on 54th Street.
Mm-hmm. So, what kind of meaning did this house have for you?
Well, this was our first dream house. Was moving up to from where we were, and now we're going to really have a dream house.
The house that we moved from on Granada was a really nice house in a very nice area. And we weren't really intending on moving. As a matter of fact, we had spent a considerable amount of money remodeling the house, and we moved 4 months later. What happened was on Sundays we used to look in the paper and go look at unusual things. You know, like you see a house and it looked unusual, so here we go, take a ride. And we went to look at a house up in Montclair in a little narrow street, and we weren't really interested in buying a house, we just killing time.
Mm-hmm.
And we met this builder who had built the house. The house was too small. You know, it just had, I think what attracted us, it had stained glass windows and a spiral staircase. So we went to see that, and we met a realtor there, and he said, were you interested in buying the house? And I said, no, not really. He said, would you would you like to look at something? Sure. So I made an appointment with him the next day. She was at work, and he brought me to the house on Town Road. And it was on a little narrow private road off of Town Road, and there's a steep hill. And you turn this curve, and you go straight from the sky. You can't see a thing. And I liked the house, and I waited till she got off from work, and we brought up there. She took one look at that road and said, "No way, no way." But we started looking. You sort of get a fever. We started looking, and everything we looked at, nothing was like this house, because the rooms were really spacious. Most homes that are built, I guess since that time, they have small bedrooms. Small. These rooms are large. As a matter of fact, I thought the one guest bedroom was the master bedroom because it had a bath inside and everything, and that wasn't the master bedroom. So it was really a unique house. It was really nice.
Did you guys do any improvements on the house
Yeah.
over that time?
We were doing some improvements when we got burned down.
We were on a 4-year. It all started with, this is a replica, a replacement of the dining room set that we had in the house. We rebought this. It started with this dining room set. When we bought this set, the carpeting didn't go. The paint didn't go. So we started on a 4-year project of replacing carpeting, repainting the whole interior, wallpapering.
Expanding our bedroom.
Yeah, we went through it. There was an area between the garage, like here, between the garage and the house. This area here was all open. So what we did was it was about 12 feet this way and 30 feet wide. This was our bedroom at the time down here. So what we did was we expanded our bedroom by another 12 by 30. And we had just completed it. As a matter of fact, we had put a sunken tub with a greenhouse that came over like this. She used it one time, and I used it 3 times. We had spent a lot of money.
So why, if you, I kind of get an idea of why it was your dream house, but if you were to be more explicit, why you think this was, why you describe this as your dream house, why you
moving in on Town Road?
Yeah.
Well,
Town
because
Road.
it was bigger. It was bigger, and then I like the woody areas, and it just was for me.
It had a lot of features. Coming down the stairway was a huge skylight, about 4 feet wide and about 8 or 9 feet long. So we walked down the stairs, you're looking up at the sky. It had a lot of hardwood floors in the kitchen and in the dining room. It had 10-foot ceilings, on the main level. Compared to the house that we moved from, which was, I guess, a house built in the early 60s and didn't have the same kind of features. This had a modern kitchen with an island in the center.
It was just basically more modern.
Open, real open,
Yeah.
and real spacious.
So had you, I'm not too good at house buying, but have you paid off most of the house? I mean, was it yours, or were you still making payments?
it wasn't ours. We still owed money on the house.
Okay. What was the neighborhood like where you were living?
Well, we lived in the cul-de-sac, and it was 1, 2,
8 houses.
8 houses up on this little private road.
There were, in the whole area, maybe about as far as I know, about 8 or 10 African American families. But we didn't see anybody
It was
hardly,
very quiet.
except during the summer, like on Saturday or Sunday, we take a walk and you run into people. We knew everyone in our little cul-de-sac, but we just didn't. We were gone a lot, so it's just.
Were there any special sacrifices you had to make to get this house that made it even more meaningful, or was it just like buying a regular
Well,
house?
Cutting down on expenses as far as getting what we want personally, the material-wise. I think
It
we cut
wasn't-
down for a while.
It wasn't a tremendous struggle.
No, it wasn't.
It
But
wasn't.
we did cut down a little bit now.
Yeah, we cut back on a lot of things.
Okay.
But I mean, it wasn't the thing that we were saving every penny to do, because we had equity in our house, so we had enough equity for a down payment.
Okay. Did you have any reservations apart from the steep hill about moving there? Were there?
Yeah, because of the steep hill. It was just very, very steep.
Aside from that,
Aside from that, no.
no, we were chomping at the bit. I mean, once the fever bites you, I mean, we really we're happy with the area that we lived in. We had a real nice house. We had spent a lot of money. It was, you start off and you're struggling. That was our first house, and we were really struggling. I guess it's our second house.
Mm-hmm.
The Granada house?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And we were really struggling because I was just getting started in my career, and I wasn't making a lot of money. We had kids in school, in private school, and we were struggling, and took quite a few years to kind of get the house exactly like we wanted. Then we left 4 months later.
Mm-hmm.
So, we really weren't thinking about, well, we're saving our money so we can move up to a bigger house. It just, the opportunity was there, and we stole the house at the price because it was built for speculation, and they couldn't sell it. And they ran into problems. They couldn't find people qualified, and we qualified instantly, and we had enough equity in our house with a down payment. So, I mean, it was just a good deal for us. We lost money on our house on Granada because the area was such a stable area, no one moved, and so the comparable sales were low. We got the highest amount of money out of there at the time we moved in '78. And since that time, I guess we helped to generate the spiral that started, making it better for folks.
Was there any, special places, like, you were mentioning when you would walk, any special places you liked visiting, or about the neighborhood, or things that...
In that immediate neighborhood, it was just a matter of just walking up the road. Yeah, there are a lot of hills.
Well, the house itself had a lot of special places. I mean, we had this huge bedroom. When you came into the house on the entry level, if you walk straight ahead, you look over the banister and you can see part of the dining room and all of the living room, and it had tall windows. And you can go out on the deck from the kitchen, and you could, sit out there.
Mm-hmm.
You see the hills above you. You can see the road winding above you.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good place. And also, each bedroom had its own private deck off the bedroom. So each bedroom you could go off the bedroom. And she used to sunbathe off of the deck off of our bedroom. So I mean, the house itself was just the kind of place. It just didn't have a family room, so it wasn't really conducive to entertaining. But it was an entertaining house for the people who lived there.
Mm-hmm. And were there any special events that took place there, like I don't know, christenings, weddings, any special parties or anniversaries?
Just holiday gathering.
Just holiday gathering. Is it painful to talk about the house?
Oh,
I know that. No, it isn't.
No.
I mean, how do you view? Well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I mean, I know that you're planning. You're in the process of rebuilding. You're about to break ground soon. So I guess you look at it. How would you put it in perspective? Exciting.
Yeah. I'm anxious.
It's not a devastating experience.
Well, it was a devastating experience, but it's a new beginning too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think she was more impacted because she was actually there.
Oh, you are.
Mm.
And I'll let her tell you about it, but when she pulled out of our garage, the house next door was on fire. And just before the storm hit, she was just ahead of that, so she wasn't in the traffic jam at Sharon Crossing, because we lived between Buckingham and Sharon Crossing. And so she passed that, and she had made it all the way down Tunnel Road and down into Ashby before the storm hit, just right back of her. So she was more traumatized, because I was on 80 freeway right here.
Mm-hmm.
I could see everything burning, but it was a parking lot there. I mean, the traffic was just, so she was more traumatized because she was actually in it. I mean, I could see it, but it's not like being there.
Yeah.
She was there.
So you want to tell me about the day and how it was going and how this
that
all
morning.
happened that morning, the whole experience.
It was really funny. I got up early. It was a beautiful morning. I got up early and I went outside and started sweeping. And sweeping all the leaves around the house as far as I can go, because the very front of the back of the house is on stilts, so I couldn't sweep that area. But all the front, the whole area, the parking area, I just swept up a storm. And I don't know why I did that. And then shortly after that, I got on the phone and started smelling smoke.
What time is this? Would you say?
This was, I guess, something to 11 o'clock. A girlfriend had called me, and I was on the phone, and I told her I smelled smoke. And then I just continued on talking, and I said, I'm going to have to hang up. I smell this smoke. So, and I looked out the window. I couldn't see anything. So I went next door because the prior day, the day before, was a fire. So I thought maybe, it was beginning to burn again. And sure enough, when I went next door, because where her window is, you can just, just look out there, and there was a fire. I said, oh my God. I said, let me go home and pack. And she didn't think it was that terrible. But I ran home, and I saw my neighbor, the other neighbor, watering down the house. I said, well, let me try that too. But what kept me from not continuing on watering is the ground was real slippery from the ashes. And I didn't know it at the time. I kept falling. I said, well, forget this. So I went in the house and started pulling some things out. And that's it. I had about 10 minutes to do that. And what made me stop is that I was exhausted. I forgot that fire saps up oxygen. And I thought I was just tired from going up and down the stairs, and I was wondering, why am I so tired? Because I've done it many times and didn't get that exhausted. So that's what made me stop, is I just could not go down again. So I had gotten my birds and some jewelry and some, just a few little things.
How were you feeling? I mean, was it like you were frightened or what?
I was very hot. I did not know the fire was on top of me. I did just see that the house was red, looking through the skylights. So we have skylights above. And looking up, it was just all red. I said it must be just the reflection from that hill, because I didn't know it had zoomed up that fast. And I remember looking down the steps at this red house. I mean, everything was red. I mean, the color just overcame the house, and then that's when I left.
See, we had these tall pine trees adjacent to the house.
There was no noise. I didn't hear no noise, no crackling of trees or anything. It was silent.
The very weird thing that happened that Sunday morning, because I was away that Saturday. When I got home, she said, we almost had to leave. We had a fire. And she said, this was Sunday morning about 9:30.
Before he left.
Yeah. And we're in bed, and some friends called and said, we're playing basketball up at St. Mary's High School, and we wanted you to bring us some water. So I got out of bed and went up there. And before I got out of bed, she said, if we had to leave, what would you take? I mean,
if there was a fire,
yeah,
what would you take?
What would you take? And I said, I'd take a few clothes, and I'd take the plants to the house because they were in the closet. And I said, I wouldn't worry too much because, we have insurance. We're covered, So, I wouldn't really worry too much about stuff. But, I didn't think about things like my precious saxophone or some of my pieces of clothing that are very special.
And you said insurance papers, too.
Yeah, I think I said stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, I got up and left, and this is about 9:45, and about an hour later, she had to make that decision. Yeah. Now, she didn't get the plans, and she didn't get the insurance papers. But
I got one. It just slipped my mind.
but she,
it was exciting. Oh my God! I said, I'm gonna have to get out of here. So
she did.
I just ran to my first closet and got some stuff, some jewelry that was in that same closet, and I went and looked for those insurance papers. I did find one. I couldn't find. What happened in my closet were the insurance papers were the ones that he told me to keep, and put away, because it gives a history of what to happen if something happened to him. It got too hot in there. It got hot in the closet. I couldn't stay in there any longer. That's what kept me from looking anymore. Then I grabbed some of his clothes, and then grabbed the birds, and they were singing all along, just as happy as they wanted to be.
I have to say this, that under pressure, she may be a little nervous, but she's very calm and very cool. Now, I'm really happy in a way that I wasn't at home, because I tend to be hard-headed, and she would have told me she smelled smoke, and there was a football game on, and I would have said, yeah, right. And so, and then once we started grabbing stuff, she had the good sense of mind to leave, and I would not.
You probably would have, because if I was exhausting, you would have been exhausting.
Yeah,
you would have been panting too.
I think I would have been trying to get one more this and one more that. It's interesting that at Parkwood Apartments, right below us, one of my friends called her and said, "You better come."
She said, "What's happening up there?" And I said, "Oh, there's a fire." and I'm fixing to get out of here. She said, well, come on down here. So I left the house, was getting ready to go down there, and they wouldn't even let me go down. The house had, the apartments had just
They had
went up
caught
a plane.
on fire.
Yeah.
And her husband had the same reaction that I would have had.
Yeah.
She was saying, let's get dressed and get out of here. And he's saying, I'm watching the football game. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
so, I mean, and I talked, since I had several clients, I had about 16 clients that lost their houses. And so I have a lot of experiences with people who actually lost their house. And most of them, it happened so quickly that you know, they were really caught off guard. You know, we were out at Macy's picking up some clothes, and we met an elderly couple that lived in Hill or Highlands, and they opened their door, and the fire was there,
Right there, yeah.
you know, and they drove out in black smoke, and they turned right instead of left, and if they turned left, they would have ended up on Sharon Crossing, and they wouldn't have made it.
Yeah,
They
that's
just
right.
lucked
She
'cause
made
they
that
couldn't
right
see.
turn.
You know, so I mean.
Well, okay. What was the end result? I mean, the entire house was burnt down?
Oh,
or-
yeah.
The entire neighborhood.
Yeah.
What did you
Yeah.
do? The entire neighborhood?
Oh, yeah. Everything was just flattened out.
What, if you were to say what you lost, I mean, apart from the house, in terms of things that you were talking about, your saxophone, what were some of the things that were really meaningful that you lost in the house that you don't think
Well,
you can replace?
my parents' artifacts, you know, things like that.
Photographs.
Pictures, yeah, things that I had to put on the wall that I had, you know, personally went out and had framed, you know, things like that.
We lost our whole history, photographic history.
Yeah, a family. I had a family history.
We had a big antique trunk roll top, and that's where we chose to keep all the
Yeah.
photos, and wedding pictures, pictures of us when we were young and I was thin, you know, I mean, pictures of children when they were small. I mean, those are things that you cannot recapture. As far as the material things, I don't think either of us felt, except for a couple of little items. You know,
Sure.
I had a silk suit that I bought in Brazil that I just loved. Okay, I had this leather jacket that it took me years to buy a leather jacket because I didn't want just a regular leather jacket. And I found this lambswool
There's
jacket
a lot of
that
little
I
things
just
like that.
I mean, you know, little things like that. But aside from that, I don't think that we treated or had a lot of pain over the loss of our personal effects, because I think basically, while we like nice things, I mean, we're not married to them. I mean, you know, you can replace things. I mean, I'm happy that we have our health, because you know, we're replacing everything else. I mean, I've heard a lot of people who were just really crushed because they lost things, and those are just things. I mean, to each his own. I mean,
Those
I'm
things
not
are,
knocking
yeah,
it.
I'm not crying. My eye tears.
Okay.
I'm not crying.
Okay.
My eye just, it burns.
Okay.
Must be from the outdoors, but it tears like that. But I don't know. We didn't have to go to therapy. I did feel he was away.
She was traumatized.
Yeah, yeah. And I felt when you were away that first weekend that you went away, I felt like I was going to collapse. I had went to the play. I remember I told you I went to the
Right.
play. And I guess I was just tired, and it just came down on me that evening.
That's a lot to do.
Yeah, I mean,
Lose
I felt
everything.
faint. I really did. I felt like I wanted to just go right on down and just fall on the floor.
But you know, there are two things that happened. One, I remember one morning. First of all, we moved into a one-bedroom apartment. We wanted to get into this building, and we had, I guess, 30 bona fide offers of people who wanted us to live with them, and then we did, in fact, for a couple of weeks, live with a couple of people because we were just,
Yeah, just
you know, I mean, you just, what do? You know, and I was dealing with other people's problems. And so we found a one-bedroom in this building. We took it because we felt we didn't need any space. Didn't realize that our bedroom was larger than the whole apartment. You know, but at the time, it seemed like it was okay. You know, and after about 2 or 3 months, I mean, I would be up in the middle of the night bumping into the walls. You know, I'm just walking because, I mean, we're just...
You felt constricted?
Yeah, really. You know, and it just so happened that the first house that was rebuilt up there, the people lived here. They were staying here. And we were able to get this when they moved out.
Yeah,
So we've been here
yeah.
ever since. But we were really just not really thinking about it, you know. But shortly after we moved here, they had a false alarm. It was a fire. Oh, it wasn't a fire, but
In this building?
Yeah, the sirens
Yeah.
went out. She was
Maybe
at
there
work.
was a fire.
You were at work. I don't think it was a fire. I think it was a false alarm. And at first I thought, can't be. And then I look out in the hall, and all the fire doors were closed and stuff. And for the first time, since all of this thing happened, because I thought I was real cool with this whole thing. I mean, it really, I was really shook up. And then they have these speakers in here that they can announce that it's okay. It wasn't really a fire. So, and then I guess about 2 months ago, on a Saturday. There was a false alarm. The fire trucks came.
Yeah.
Fire truck came, and she started getting dressed, and she was ready to go. And I was going, nah, I can't be. I was doing my usual, and it really wasn't. But I mean, she was ready to go. She said, "Oh, you're not going?" I said, "Well, I don't think it's anything." But so there is some residue, even for people who think that they have handled this pretty well. That when you hear sirens. And particularly if it's something close to where you live, you think twice.
Now you're on the 30th floor
Yeah.
of a building,
Yeah.
in which if there were a fire, you would have to walk down 30 floors.
Yeah.
Did you have any reservations about staying here? I mean, especially considering,
No.
your experience.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
What's
Did
that?
you have any reservations about staying? You're on the 30th floor. If there's a fire, this is the most difficult building to get out.
It did come across my mind, I feel that I can run down 30 steps, 30 flights. No, it did come to mind, but I wasn't scared or anything. I really wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
We're not that traumatized.
Okay. Now, I didn't get your side of the story about how you heard about the fire, whether you were just on the freeway inside or whether you were listening to the radio. Or...
What happened was I went up to watch these guys play ball, and I dropped off some water for them. And then usually on Sundays, I make my weekly passes through Price Club browser looking for gadgets and stuff. So people were watching TV, and it said something about a fire and a renda or something across on the other side of the tunnel. So when I was passing by the TV, I heard that, and I said, another fire, like the one yesterday, and and people were gathering around the TV. So when I walked back past there, and they said something about Parkwood Apartments. Well, that's home. Mm-hmm. So I ran and jumped in the car, and I checked my car phone messages, and she had called and said, "Henry, come home right away." And then there was another message that I left, and I'm down at the school, so I called down at the school, and she was there, so she was saved. So I was trying to get to the school.
Which school was this?
This was our child care center down on Grand Avenue, West Grand Avenue, between Broadway and Telegraph. And it's the old International House of Pancake. So I was trying to get there, but I knew she was okay at the time. And then a friend had called and said, just get your stuff and come to our house, so we had someplace to go. So I could see it. I mean, everyone could see it. But I kind of thought that I didn't know what to think. It was just unbelievable. And then we went to this guy's house, and we were sitting and watching TV, and it kept burning. It kept burning. And then they said 2 houses on Tunnel Road were saved. And since we were up on concrete pillars, I said, maybe our house got saved, And for weeks we couldn't get up there. Police wouldn't let us up there because I guess they were combing for dead bodies and whatever, but they wouldn't let us up there. So the first time I had a chance to get up there, it was right around the curve that these 2 houses were standing. And
that's where the firemen were.
Yeah, they got trapped there.
Yeah.
And see, they had to fight for their life there, and that's how those houses got saved there. But you know how you wish and hope that maybe yours survived. So
how long before you guys found out whether your house was okay or not? How many?
Well, they were saying
he knew about it ahead of time.
They were saying on TV that the whole street was gone. But they were saying there are 2 houses that got saved. So I'm saying, well, okay, the whole street is gone, but
one house was empty. No one lived in it. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
No one lived in one house. Then the other house, that's where the firemen got trapped. It was right across the street from each other.
Right.
So when you went to the site 3 days later.
I don't
You
think
went first.
No, what happened was they wouldn't let us up there. So I had a friend who was ex-fireman, and he had a motorcycle, and he had a badge. So we went up there. We made it all the way past police blockades up to Sharon Crossing, which is right around the bend. And we got stopped there, and they would not let us go any further.
Mm.
And so I was that close, but I couldn't go around the curve. I couldn't see around there because I would have known for sure, so I still didn't know.
Mm.
So they made us go back. So then finally they were allowing you to go up with police escorts. And all the while, now, this must have been about 2 weeks, because they were letting people on the other side of Broadway Terrace go up, but for some reason they would not let the people, I guess because we were right in the heart of where it started, they would not let us go up there at all. So finally a police car took me up there. And all the while I've been, counseling people and, consoling folks. And when we turned the corner and I saw where a house stood, first of all, the trip up there, where all these trees were and where all these houses that were so familiar for 13 years that you just see when you go, the amazement of looking at that space and nothing was there except chimneys. I mean, first of all, that was just unbelievable. It was like shock, disbelief. It's like like a bad dream. You're seeing this and it's not real. And then we got to the corner where our houses stood, and there was nothing there but these pillars, and I broke. It wasn't bad, but I broke. I mean, tears. I swelled up, and teared up for a minute. I guess it was just unbelievable. It was truly unbelievable. But I mean, I guess that was I think that's the only time that it happened.
So this was 2 weeks after the film.
Yeah.
So what about you? When did you see the house?
Well,
Shortly after I took you up
Shortly
there.
after. I thought it was less than 2 weeks.
It may have been. I mean,
Yeah.
I really don't have any concept of time. It was a long
It was
time.
devastating. Definitely. But I mean, I held it. Held on.
So where were you guys staying in the meantime? What was life like
We
immediately after?
stayed in East Oakland. And then
With
we ended
friends
up,
For a week,
Yeah.
yeah. We stayed with the friend that called me when I was on my way to get her, first of all. We stayed there for about 4 or 5 days.
Were you going to work, or what were you
I
doing?
was-
yeah.
We
I
were
went to
both
work
going to
the
work
following
every
day.
day. I was in the office at 7:30 the next morning, taking care of people who had been affected.
And I was at work at 7 o'clock, so I opened up at 7 o'clock.
So we both we went right ahead.
So what about clothes and just your regular stuff that you need to? I mean, how many? Was there a car destroyed? Or,
No.
Well, you
No.
had your
No,
car.
And
I
she-
escaped in my car.
So
Yeah,
therefore
so
you
we
had
didn't lose
cars.
any cars.
No, didn't even get singed, because when I drove away from the scene, I had a pathway where I can drive without the fire touching me, because I drove through fire, but it didn't touch me, because it was fire on both sides.
So you
The
were one of
weeds.
the earlier people.
Yeah, too, right.
Oh yeah, I was one of the first people to leave.
So we went out that Sunday and bought toiletries. I mean, when you start from ground zero, there's so many things you take for granted because over time you accumulate all these things: toothbrush, toothpaste.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, stuff that we started from ground zero and started buying all this stuff. And we went to his friend's house. Now, she was fortunate enough to get one suit for me, no underwear, no socks. The only shoes I had were the sandals that I had on. I had a pair of tennis shoes in my car, and I had some shorts in my car, and that was like it, clothes-wise. And so I was wearing my little suit with a little sweatshirt and tennis shoes, and that's what I was wearing.
How much was your house worth at the time of the fire? And
We think, because it had not been appraised, but because we had just got finished doing all this
Yeah.
work, we think somewhere between $400,000 and $450,000. We think that based upon the houses in the area one had sold, which was much smaller than our house, for 300 and something, and the house at Judy's house, I think it was a one-bedroom house right on the corner of Judy's house, and I think it sold for about $300,000. We had 2-car garage and 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, fireplace, and all this stuff. So we think, it was well over $400,000.
what kind of insurance coverage did you have? And did you get the insurance because you?
Yeah, I'm my own insurance man. We were with Allstate. Actually, they were harder on me than everyone else. First of all, because I couldn't claim that I didn't know things, because of course I know it from the agent. Secondly, I couldn't pull a lot of things that people pull, you know. But I mean, they took care of me. But they not 1 inch of leeway at all.
So you were fully covered?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of community and neighbors and friends, what type of support do you feel? Because I know I was working at the Tribune at the time, and I was writing some of the articles that they were trying to cover the fire, and I know that, you know, it seemed like, I know just working there, that everybody was really into truly trying to make sure everybody's story got told and, you know, providing information. And I'm just wondering, in terms of, you know, on all levels, what kind of support were you getting, and were you satisfied with it? Were you surprised by it? You know, what was your reaction?
Well, we got support from friends and insurance, and I belonged to this club that gave my friend that got burned out too. We both belonged to this club. They gave us a shower, and then Henry's.
I served on a state commission appointed by the governor, and
They gave him a
they
dinner. What is
they
dinner?
gave us snows and lunch, and they gave us a lot of gifts, and we had support from all over the state. Letters of support. We had bona fide offers from people who said you can stay with us as long as you want to. I mean, we were staying with this couple in Piedmont, they're both attorneys, and he called from Philadelphia and said, "Go to my house today." You know, and he said, "You can stay here." They had a big house, and they were both gone a lot, and they said, "You can stay here until your house is rebuilt." But of course, we wouldn't, I couldn't do that, because, you know, I guess one of the things that I experienced, and I can really empathize with people who are homeless, because even though we had money and we had places to go, I really, truly felt homeless because we didn't have our space to go to, and that was a significant feeling. I've never felt that before, you know, and that was really something. But we had a lot of support, company-wide. I mean, just from all over the country, people wrote notes and called.
So these are friends or just strangers, or
friends and just people like the company. I mean, I got calls from home office. The chairman of the board of Allstate Insurance Company flew out to my office and personally came to see how it was. The chairman of the board of Allstate Insurance Company, and I thought that was pretty good. You know, I mean, you know.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and we got letters from people I don't even know. I mean, you know, throughout the company, because I was the only employee that was affected. You know, so we got really good support there. We had tons of friends, and you know, and our little neighbors. Probably we became closer during that period than we'd been in the 13 years that we lived there, because we always were cordial, but everybody's doing their own thing. You know, you never
And
we
one
didn't
of the
really
couples
socialize.
live in this building. One of the couples that got burned out, our neighbors got to live in this building.
So
There we
you
go.
kind of kept in touch with them
Oh,
afterwards?
yeah, we had meetings.
Wow.
Yeah.
We had dinners and mutual support. you know.
Because I know that there were all these community centers where everybody was supposed to meet to get information. So I'm just wondering, in terms of how it worked, you know, since it was a crisis situation and people weren't really prepared as to how to handle it.
We went to a few of those.
But you know,
to the meetings.
we didn't have the same kind of problem because of my
Your relationship.
skills.
Oh, okay.
Many of the things that they had to go find out about, I participated in. So I was able to disseminate that kind of information to the people in our little neighborhood. It became very political, and there's some other things that began to happen. So I stayed away from those meetings since I represented an insurance company and stuff, you know. But you know, basically how to and what to do, you know, we pretty much knew, and were able to. So we didn't really have to attend those meetings.
What percentage of your neighborhood was black? Is there?
In our immediate
Neighborhood.
in our cul-de-sac, it wasn't any.
There were about, where Anna lives, there were about 2 or 3 families up there. And I'm sure up there, an old timer road up there was some. I have no idea.
I mean, either.
I have no idea. I know the guy on Sharon Crossing, and in Hiller Highland.
When they got
If
killed.
you take that whole area as your neighborhood, Hiller Highlands had quite a significant number of African Americans, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't have a clue. Because you really didn't see people.
That
You know,
much.
that's an area where everybody's in cars, and, you know, it's a long road, there's no buses. And unless you're out walking on Sunday or Saturday, you're not going to see anybody unless there's some kind of event. Now, we went to a couple of parties with a next-door neighbor, and we met several
Neighbors, but
neighbors.
they weren't black
They
neighbors,
weren't,
though.
they weren't black, yeah, just a couple.
Yeah, but those were her friends,
Oh, okay. Well,
people that she worked with.
it's the kind of neighborhood that I don't know. I guess it's a neighborhood, but we're not. We were there because we liked the house and we liked the area, so it wasn't about who was there. It was like this is where we. Actually, we had a lot of privacy, and that was what we wanted.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. What were some? Well, I guess this is a more general question. Some of the positives and negatives of getting back on your feet. You're talking about looking forward to this new house and having basically starting over. But you know, if you were to kind of think back and say, you know, looking at the whole experience, what were some of the good things and bad things?
Well, I certainly do appreciate living. I seem like I notice the flowers more now, and just the beauty of you know, living and having good health. I'm looking at that more now, and I didn't think too much of that before. That's what I got out.
I think it's more attitude. You could look at something like this as something devastating and a real tragedy, and it is that. But if you let it stop there, then you're in a sense letting life stop there. And so our position and my position is that, you know, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Now, you know, we just take it. So we're going to have the house that we bought was, she called it a dream house. There are a lot of things that we would have done if we had built it. Well, now we're doing them. So, I mean, it's an opportunity to make it be exactly what we wanted. This is it. This is exactly what we wanted. And
So there, when you were deciding to rebuild, it was immediately that you said you wanted to stay in that place, or how was the decision process in rebuilding?
yeah, there was never a thought about not rebuilding.
Returning. You know, I knew I wanted to return.
That was immediate.
Yeah.
And we've never
No
wavered from that.
hesitations at all.
No.
Well, what has the process been like in terms of, you know, getting architects and, you know, trying to figure out what you want?
Well, we're going through a second contractor now, we went through 2 architects.
The thing is, a lot of this, I mean, there's so many people coming at you, and it's got to be a perfect marriage. You know, there are people, and there are some African American architects out there who claim, you know, that they didn't get an opportunity. Your house is very special, and it's a big investment, and while you want some sense of responsibility, ultimately you got to do what's best for you. We got an architect based on several things. One willing to listen to what we want, because there are many architects who want to build their house, make their statement, and that's okay as long as we use their money. We knew pretty much what we wanted. Our house, those first 2 levels are very close to what the house was like, with the exception of these spiral staircases here. The house was similar, except the decks didn't curve around, they went off straight this way. So, I mean, it's very similar. It's just that we added this top level, which is the master bedroom. So we had a good idea. And having the first person that we had not only was not really listening, but really tried to maybe send his kid to college with us. And see, we may be emotionally upset, but we're not. You know. So, I mean, we dismissed that and found someone who not only listened, but is really in tune with what we wanted. And we had very few meetings, and they took copious notes. And the next time we got together, what we wanted was incorporated. You know. Plus, they had good experience downtown, so we didn't have to go through a lot of hassles downtown.
They took care of all that.
We had a contractor that we wanted to use all the way through, work with that person all the way through, didn't even check their prices with anyone else until something came up that was so glaring that I asked about, and they still hung to it, that I, just to protect myself, did some checking and found that they were like $200,000 higher. Went back to them, gave them another opportunity. They're still holding fast to some things, and the distance is about 75 to 80,000 now, but it's too much. I'm not required to make the kind of statement that I would want to make at my expense. You know, this is a competitive business. I'm in the competitive business. People come to me because of my prices, not because of what I look like. And that's the way it is. And while we try to do business the way we'd like to do business, it's not a gift. You have to be able to deliver. You have to be able to deliver equitably, or fairly. If you can't do that, then you have to do what's best for us. And so that's where we are right now. So we're about to make a decision that we didn't really want to make, but you have to do what you have to do. So
financially, has this experience cost you a lot? I don't know. In terms of you guys had insurance, I don't know if this is been hard financially, or whether it's been okay because of the insurance, or how has it been?
Well, let me see.
It's been okay.
Let me put it this way: we were doing okay before the fire.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we were doing okay, and we're still doing okay. And in a sense, I guess what's happening is that sometimes if you're prepared and you get large sums of money, you can get into a better position than you were before. That's essentially what's happening.
Okay. In terms of the last year and a half, just in general, I guess it's a year and a half. It's almost 2 years.
Yeah, it's almost 2 years.
Almost
2 years in October.
Yeah, I guess so. In terms of how has it been? I mean, has it been okay living here and moving
It's been
around?
okay. I'm enjoying. I usually enjoy wherever I'm at. I try to make the most